So glad that you are here. Please join me on your back body. And when you first come to your mat, just start wiggling around like it's the first time you've ever explored your yoga mat, the floor. Start wiggling your limbs. Take your feet wide, take your arms wide. Maybe they're down by the body, maybe they're up above the head. Maybe you're rolling wrists, rolling ankles. Maybe your head's moving side to side. The word yoga, I remind you, means to yoke, bind, unite together, body, mind, spirit. And so this coming into the body that we've been in all day to actually notice what's here, what would feel good, is a great way to start our practice. Let us enter with curiosity and respect for this amazing vessel that we're in. And then I'm going to take us right into some rock pose in order to wake up all the body. So on your next exhale, when you're ready, tightening all the muscles of the body, making the hands into fists, squeezing the arms into the side, shoulder heads anchor, butt cheeks, thighs tighten. If you want, you can even scrunch up your face. And then when the inhale comes, just soften and get as heavy as you possibly can. Observe the breath rising in the body. And on the exhale, again, creating rock pose. You might also add a sit-up motion, either with just the upper body as if you're looking at your feet, or you might also lift the feet so as little of your back body as possible is touching. And always again, inhaling and softening. We're going to continue this for a few more rounds. And I'll invite you in a few other points of focus. So turning the gaze up and in as if you're looking behind the center of the forehead. Lightly connecting the tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth behind the front teeth, but the rest of the tongue soft. Maybe even adding a soft smile. On the inhales, it might feel good to reach and get as long as you can. And again, rolling wrists or ankles. And last point of focus, invitation to add your ujjayi. So contracting the throat a little bit to create the great sounding breath. The mouth is closed, but it's the same sensation in the throat as when you fog a mirror. Is there more? Emptying, emptying. One more long inhale. We'll reach overhead. And then on the exhale, we're going to bring right knee into the belly, release wind pose. So clasping, anchoring that thigh as close to your belly as you can. As you're doing this, also anchor the shoulder heads down. You might even bring your upper arm in towards the body, what I call no wings, no shrugs. And sometimes it feels good to take the knee a little right and left. And then inviting you to bring the knee all the way out to the right, kind of letting it settle into your hand, keeping anchored through the left side of your body. And you can also bring your left arm out into that kind of half T pose, so it anchors you. And then would it feel good to try and straighten your right leg out into your waiting hand? I often kind of pulse it. I'll press through my flexed heel and bend again. For those of us that are tight through the back body and the back leg, that pulsing can feel really good. If you're loose enough, maybe you can even grab a hold of your big toe. You would bring your fingers, middle and index, through big toe and second toe, and then grab the big toe from there. But if that just is too awkward or it brings the left side of the body off the mat, please don't add that. And then we're going to slowly bring that knee through center to the left for spinal twist. So this is a single knee down twist. And if you just find it feels awkward or maybe pulls on your back, bring your other knee up underneath in more of that kind of embryo pose. The arm is out behind and Many of us will enjoy exploring space, sweeping the arm down and up. And you can also play with rotating the palm one direction and another. And that can bring a marvelous series of stretches into the upper arm, armpit, and shoulder. How big can this next breath get, and where do you feel it? Where does it massage you? And then we'll slowly move to the center. We're going to take that same right leg that we had in our release wind pose, return it there. So bring it into your belly again. You've got it. We're going to add a sit-up motion here. So on your next exhale, power down through your low back and bring your chest or face as close to your right knee as you can. If this bothers your neck, then just go back to regular release wind pose, focusing on breath and belly. I like inhaling and releasing, giving my neck a chance to soften, rolling head side to side. And again, exhaling into the sit-up. And we'll do one more. Soft mouth, soft gaze. And then on your inhale, release the spine and let your right leg go all the way up to the sky. Gather a long inhale, both legs active, feet flexed. Exhaling, slowly descend your right leg as if you were trying to scrape the wall in front of you with your heel. And see how rooted you can stay in your low back. So this is really a chance to wake up the core body, counterbalance that heavy leg. And when you reach the ground, invitation to melt. Good. I'm going to invite you to do that again, right leg only, or if you'd like more intensity, take the other leg up as well. Double leg release, as I call it. Inhale, slow, deep, and wide. Exhale, root down through that low back. You might even feel it brings your hips off the floor. And then again, slowly descending, reaching forward through the feet. If it becomes too much weight, just bend the knees, but keep squeezing the legs together. Soften the neck, rolling side to side, and melting. I find a sighing breath can feel so good after that effort. Yeah. And we're going to bring the left knee in, release wind pose. So noticing right away, is this side different? Do you feel the same amount of tension? Does it pull you out to one side, or do you feel pretty neutral? Couple deep breaths, sending belly to thigh and thigh to belly. And then playing with that wiggling left to right, just seeing what's in this hip. We're also bringing nice synovial fluid into the joint. And then as you're ready, you might bring your right arm out to anchor, letting the left knee settle into your left hand. I've still got it up nice and high, as close to my armpit as I can get it, because this is such a great chance to open the hips in a way that probably have not happened today. And maybe it would feel good to extend that left leg out into your hand. Again, trying to stay anchored through the right side of the body. Maybe you're able to grip the toe with your fingers. Maybe your hand is behind your knee. And on an exhale, nice core support. Bring that knee all the way over to the right for your spinal twist on this side. And again, you might stay in the single knee twist, in which case that right leg, your straight leg, is very active, flexing through the heel. Or maybe you're tucking it up underneath the other one. We're looking for a place where we're feeling some stretch, but that we can breathe into it. So if you kind of are just surviving it, back off, make it easier. Sweeping the arm up and down, rotating the palm one way and the other. Following the body sensation with great curiosity. And coming slowly back to center, keeping the left knee into the belly, release wind pose. We're going to take that right leg and extend it down along the floor. Nice big breath here. And as you're ready, exhaling into your sit-up motion. Again, if this bothers the neck, just leave it out and just work with nice compression of the belly down towards the spine. Is there more? Especially exhaling. If you can squeeze out every drop in your sit-up, you'll definitely feel those muscles working. Letting breath fill not only the belly and the chest, but the upper and mid back. And last inhale, release, send that left leg to the sky. Again, you can release the feet anytime you want, roll ankles, etc. Give them a break. Inhale, slow, deep and wide. Exhale, power down through the back body. Slowly descend that left leg, reaching forward, staying soft in the neck, the tongue, the lips, the eyes, and melting when you reach the floor. Notice if that felt like the right level, in which case you'll just repeat left leg only. Otherwise, taking both legs to the sky. Inhaling. Feet are flexed, thighs squeezing together. Exhale, anchoring low back, slowly reaching and descending through the legs. So if we're doing this right, most of us should be quivering quite a bit. And when you reach the floor, melting. I find that sighing is really a marvelous tool for becoming present moment and releasing any stresses in the body that come from us leaping forward or back in our mind and kind of getting stuck in doer mode. So let's do a couple more of those. Inhaling slowly through the mouth, through the nose, and then in your own timing, releasing through the mouth. And it might be a soft release. Sometimes they come out loud or heavy, whatever happens. We're going to come into abdominal pumping. So gather a long inhale. You may place your hands on the abdomen for a reference. Sometimes it's helpful. Exhaling, empty the breath and hold the breath out as you begin to draw your belly in and then push it out. So it's like you're saying, see how skinny I am? Big Buddha belly. Until you need to breathe. And the last little thing here on our back for now, bridge pose. And bridge pose, as most of you know, is to me one of the most important postures that we can be doing every day. It really helps balance out all the other imbalance of how we use our body. Make sure your feet are only maybe 5-6 inches apart. Think about spreading your toes out. You might anchor the big toes and then see if you can spread the other toes. Work your shoulder heads a little towards each other so you're making kind of a shoulder blade sandwich, as I call it. And on your next exhale, send the hips up. Now you could just leave your arms relaxed, palms to the sky, and kind of work those shoulder heads a little more deeply. Some people enjoy just powering down through the upper arm, and others might enjoy adding yoga mudra, that intertwining of the fingers, palms facing one another. Either way, we want to be thinking about rising up through the hips and the heart, sending the thighs towards each other as if there's a block there, and breathing into this amazing shape. When you're ready to release, slowly as you can descend, Really using the muscles of the back body to slow it down. Nice. And please walk your feet together so that the soles of the feet are facing one another, knees dropping out in a butterfly. And you can just use this as a nice kind of resting or recovery pose, or join me in lifting your hips off of the floor. This is another really great glute igniter, as is bridge pose. So I felt inspired to add this. And you'll feel it does get to different places. Like this gets a little more to my inner thigh area as well as just the gluteus maximus that we tend to feel most in bridge. We're going to hang out here for about a minute. Notice that you can soften your glutes and you can also contract them. And so feel free to observe which version feels best to you in this pose. Are you able to talk to the muscles in that way and get them to respond? And coming slowly, slowly out. Bring the knees together into the belly. A nice little spinal rocking side to side. We're going to come up into table pose, hands and knees. Some people will enjoy just coming to one side and pressing up. Others, you might enjoy spinal rocking into cross-legged and finding your table that way. Intelligent hands, so we've got our middle finger straight forward, other fingers nice and wide. Hands are planted. And I'd like you to imagine before we even go into cow-cat that you're kind of tractioning. You're not going to move your hands, but you're engaging as if you wanted to pull your yoga mat towards your knees. And my hope is you can feel some nice ignition along the armpit. As you're ready, inhaling cow pose. Draw the heart forward, tailbone draws back. Exhaling, tucking the tailbone, letting the head just hang, using those powerful core muscles to keep squeezing towards the spine. We're going to be here for a number of rounds, so can please go into your own breath inquiry. Is there more? And see if you can find those moments of pause between the active inhale and exhale. Notice if your mind has wandered, bring it back. Again, use whatever your favorite tool is for that being present piece. For me, often it's ujjayi, using that throat contraction and the white noise of the breath. For some people, it's the tongue connection or breath watching or body sensation. It's all wonderful. On your next exhale, cat back, let's curl the toes under and send the hips up and back, downward facing dog. I always begin with knees bent, and sometimes my legs never get straight in downward dog. They don't need to, but we can really stretch the back line of the body there by pedaling, kind of pressing one heel towards the floor and then the other. I'm going to have you take your feet even wider, maybe right out to the edges of the mat for bear pose. You can take your hands a little wide too, and it's kind of nice to notice if that's easier on your neck than having your hands more parallel like we do in downward dog. We're always seeking neck ease in yoga. Invitation to drop the knees nice and wide. Bring the feet together for child's pose and send those hips on back. Now you might keep the arms very active and extended. This can give you a lot of the benefit of puppy stretch, some of that deep chest stretch. I know we were talking about kind of the tight pectorals that a lot of us have before class started. And this is definitely one of my favorite stretches. What would it feel like to take the hands a little to one side, keeping those arms as long as possible? Where do you feel the breath and the stretch? When you move to the other side, please lift your head and shoulder girdle a little bit before going to the other side. It just makes it a safer movement. What can you discover here today? What's in this side of the body? And again, lifting chest, etc. Coming back to center, nice cat back. And I'm going to bring us up onto our knees. And I wanted to offer a tractioning resistance movement today that really helps work with the fascia that can help release the shoulder joint quite a bit. A lot of people have said this has been really helpful. I didn't have a name for it, and the students called it half puppy, is what they came up with. So that's what we're calling it. But I'm going to stay on my right hand and I'm going to come down to my left forearm. And then I'm just going to walk my left forearm a little bit towards the center line. And then essentially we're going to be tractioning, which means I'm going to be pressing down through that left arm and then also drawing back as if I wanted to bring my elbow to my knee, but I'm not going to move it, right? I'm just that kind of tractioning thing. So take a nice long inhale. Exhale, tractioning and sending your butt back towards your heels as you continue tractioning, pressing down through the forearm and towards your knee through the elbow. And then inhale, return to your starting. Are you guys feeling that? Yes, excellent, excellent. You know, and some of us are going to feel it much more intensively than others. If you don't have a lot going on in your shoulder, you might be like, oh, it's all right. Let's keep trying this. So inhale, same side. Exhale, press down and draw back, again, tractioning as you send the butt back towards the heels. When I first was learning this, I could only go part way back on this left side. There was just so much resistance. Inhale back to your starting point, and in your own time, go ahead and do a few more of those. This is only going to feel effective if you really are pulling with the intention, if you will, as if you wanted to shorten your yoga mat between your elbow and your knee. Good. Looking good. Yeah, I see some people adding nice little organic movements of neck and so on, because what we're releasing through the shoulder, of course, does connect up into the neck. Let's find the other side and see if it's different. So again, starting in table, and I'm going to stay now on my left hand. I'm going to come down on my right forearm. I'm going to walk it a little towards the center line. I'm going to begin pressing down through the forearm and drawing back through that elbow area. Big inhale. Exhale, slowly taking the hips back. Again, it doesn't matter how far you go. It's about really receiving the stretch. And you might find that in a very different location than someone else. Inhaling back to neutral. Exhaling, tractioning and drawing back. And I should have mentioned that you do want your belly kind of drawing into your spine so that you're kind of stable in your core as you're moving back. You're not collapsed. You guys look good. Is this side different? If you're not feeling this much, again, make sure you really are working that tractioning piece. You can't just be pressing down towards the floor. You've got to be engaging as if you intended to pull your elbow to your knee. Awesome. And coming on out. And we're going to take it right up into downward dog and enjoy hopefully some of the release that gave us. Inhaling, cow pose. Exhaling, cat back, downward facing dog. Send those hips up and back. Wiggle the hips left to right. Inhale, exhale, maybe sigh. Set your drishti gaze between your feet. So I'm going to offer an add-on here of sending right leg flying. If this is too much, either don't do it or do it in table. As you slowly take that right leg flying, try to stay neutral through your shoulders. Some of you might enjoy opening up that right hip. Check that your left foot is not rotating or shifting. Both arms pushing and reaching. Exhaling, bring that right foot forward in a wide lunge, right out to the side of your right hand. Good. Inhale, rotate open through the right arm, spinal twist. Exhale, release, downward facing dog. Inhale, take that left leg fly. Again, if this is feeling like too much, try it in table. Potential to open up that left hip. Check that you're not bending your right elbow. It might want to collapse. Don't let it. Exhaling slowly, left foot forward, outside the left hand. Grab it if you need to get it all the way forward under the knee. You got it. Inhale, open up through that left arm. On an exhale, I mean, you can spend as many breaths there as you want. On an exhale, releasing and step back. Good. We're going to come forward into our plank, and I'm going to encourage most of us to start knees down. If it's your first plank of the day, that's a great way to see how your shoulders are feeling. Check your alignment. And on your exhale, see if you can get your nose and chest to precede your hips. Imagine you wanted to kiss the earth without anything else touching. Then settle into the floor for cobra, anchoring the pelvis. Inhale, draw the heart forward. Exhale, settle back to either your child's pose or your downward facing dog. Just depends on where you're at in your body today. This is also sometimes a nice juncture to pause and roll out your wrists. Yeah, we really do a lot to strengthen them in yoga, which is awesome, but we also have to give them that little break. All right. I'm going to invite us in a full dog series again. And I'm encouraging us to really slow each part down. So as you're ready and you're coming from either child's or downward dog, make your way into plank and then draw the slowest, longest inhale you can. Think about anchoring the shoulder heads down the back. And I want my elbow creases to be kind of facing forward so that as I exhale chaturanga, my elbows are in by my ribs, not winging out. How slow and low can you go? Inhaling either cobra or upward facing dog. You might be on the tops of the feet or on the balls of the feet. Thighs super active. Is there more? Exhaling, downward facing dog. And we're going to slowly walk the hands back to the feet, get off those wrists for a little bit. And for those of you who you can do this comfortably, I'm going to offer you a fun little hand wrist stretch. So I have to bend my knees quite deeply to get there. I'm going to lift my left foot and bring my left hand under it with the palm of my hand facing the sole of the foot. And I want to get it all the way under so my big toe is going to touch the crease of my wrist. And I'm going to do the same with the right. And then I'm going to curl my toes down into my hand. Does that feel good? You getting it? Yeah. It gives you a nice stretch. And then if you, on an exhale, send your hips to the sky, you're going to intensify that kind of traction stretch through the wrists. This would not be a great stretch to do if you're, suffering with great carpal tunnel or what have you, but in general, this stretch actually will help keep our wrists healthy. When you're ready, come on out. Inhale, root and rise. Drop the butt and come on up. Exhaling, prayer hands. So one more little wrist investigation while we're here. Go ahead and rotate those fingertips down towards the floor. When I ask people to do that, often it's accompanied by a shrug, so check that yours are down. You can have the hands lower if you need to. But I love this stretch because it helps get into this kind of meaty part of the forearm where if you've been gardening or gripping or what have you, that part of us can be tight. And then one little add-on, as you release the pose, try to bring the kind of wrists and palms away, but keep the fingers touching. And this, again, could be a wonderful counter stretch, especially, people, again, you're on computer all day. Yeah. Awesome. We're going to step sideways on our mat. Let's face the setting sun there to the west. Good. And first, just going side to side. When we're in straddle, the wider your feet, the better. We do not want the knee trying to come past the foot. We should feel that the whole foot is really staying grounded. So check in that the ball of the big toe is feeling connected, and that's kind of your push-off point. Good. And would it feel good to go low? Some of you might even bring hands all the way to the mat or the floor. So whether your hands are on the floor or up on the thighs, or you can even use a bench or kitchen counter, for these kinds of things if you're really stiff, that you then will pause to one side and just see what kind of stretch that hip has. And for some of us, it might feel good to kind of drop our butt towards the heel of the bent leg and let that straight leg flex the foot up towards the ceiling. It's just, again, a different stretch through the hamstring, inner thigh, and so on. And exploring the other side. Bringing breath to each shape. I always think of breath like it should make us feel like an object that's bobbing on the waves. Not stagnant, not still, not frozen in place. When we come back to center, wanting to invite us to explore Yoga Mudra, which you might want to bring feet in a little bit. I always do it with knees bent so that my hamstrings aren't competing and getting in the way of the shoulder stretch. But you could also just do this simply standing and upright. Good, and some people are already getting a hold of their straps. That is awesome. If the strap allows us to get the arm completely straight so that when we bring our hands away from the butt and if you're folded forward towards the sky, then we're going to get the real gift of this pose. We should be able to feel the shoulder blades moving like a gear and hopefully a good stretch across the chest. Maybe you're also feeling it in the bicep tendon where many of us are tight. It can also feel great to rotate here. So you're in your fold and you might rotate your chest to one side, hold, and draw a deep breath. Notice where it goes. And the other side. Lovely. And release. You might set that aside. And I'm going to invite us in downward facing dog. So I'm just going to rotate, plant my hands at the front of the mat, and step back. We're going to come into some warrior flow. So if you'd prefer to do it from mountain, from standing crane at the front of the mat and step back, go for it. Otherwise, right here, slowly right leg flying. Or remember, you can leave that part out. Maybe opening the hip. And we're going to all meet in warrior one or crescent lunge, right foot at the front of the mat. And given that we've been doing all of this shoulder, neck investigation tonight, I want you to really notice what's happening there now. So for some of us, having the arms parallel is just going to create tension, in which case I'd much rather see you in a V or in a hug emoji or even jet airplane or prayer hands. Light connection, tip of the tongue, soft Ujjayi breath. Enjoy one more long inhale. You can always add a back bend if that feels good in your body. Exhaling, warrior two. Plant that back foot 90 degrees. And we really want to find here a sense of like rooted, peaceful stability. Sometimes we'll kind of add a little tractioning, almost like we're trying to shorten the yoga mat and possibly lengthen it at the same time. And you can feel some ignition in the thigh and butt muscles. And when we've got that part of our body working, the neck can just be off duty. Breath rising and settling, knowing that you're not going to be here much longer. See if you can send your hips just a little further forward and down. Yeah. Inhaling, exalted warrior, straightening that front leg. Exhaling to our lateral stretch, starting elbow to thigh. Check that the hips and the shoulders are nice and stacked. Yeah. And then reaching that left arm out beyond the head. Always taking your neck and vision where it's easiest. On a nice long exhale, you might kind of spiral that hand and then plant it. Left hand plants, come onto the ball of the back foot. We're going to open into our twist again where we were earlier. Now this time our hand and foot are a little closer. If that's awkward for you, walk your foot out to the side again. Otherwise, inhale, rotate, open. Pause, invitation to explore a partial bind. So you'd rotate your hand so the back of the hand ends up on your lower back. Now, check your hips. Most of us, the right hip will have swung out to the right. I want you to try and bring it back and in. Make sure that back leg is staying strong and supportive. And then as you're ready, a slow unwinding and step back, downward facing dog. Now, what is your body craving in this moment? Child's pose, holding downward dog, flow. Perhaps you're going through full dog series or even just some cow-cat. Inhaling plank. Exhaling chaturanga. Inhaling cobra. Again, breath-filled, slow. Exhaling downward facing dog. Vision settles between the feet. Inhaling, exhaling, sigh. Slowly, left leg flying, or again, you might be starting your warrior series from the front of the mat, stepping back. We're going to all arrive with the left foot at the front of the mat. Steer the right hip bone back, left hip bone forward. Really helps coming up. And again, find your version. Letting breath affect us, rise and settle us. Enjoying another long inhale, you might add a back bend. And exhaling, warrior two, Virabhadrasana 2. Remember, you can play with your vision. You don't have to look forward. It can be amazing to look back. You can also play with platter hands. One of the great gifts of practicing yoga for a long time, as many of you have, is that often your body will just tell you. It'll just say, hey, let's do it this way. And always listen to that. Couple more breaths. And you go a little deeper in your lunge. Inhaling, exalted warrior. Exhaling, lateral stretch. Again, check that your right shoulder, top shoulder, really is stacking over the lower shoulder. Most of us, it won't be unless we really check it. Also check that your head is drawing back in alignment with the spine. It often wants to go forward. Soft tongue, soft gaze. And then as you feel ready to release, maybe spiraling that arm and then planting the hand. Reminder that you can grab a block and put it under that right hand. It can really make a difference in the practice. I should have warned you to have it handy today. We've really been working on that a lot recently, and it's been fun to hear from people that they notice it really enhances their posture. Breathing, coming into that partial bind to see how this shoulder experiences it. And in partial bind, I always let the inhale kind of bring me out a little, and then on the exhale, I'm able to spiral more deeply. As you're ready, unwind, release, step back, downward facing dog. I want to take us into some quadricep and front body stretch. So I'm going to come onto my front body. You can do another plank to chaturanga if you want. Some of you might prefer standing quadricep stretch. If you're doing the front body with me and you've not done this before, I encourage you to try just doing one leg at a time. I'm so used to just going into grabbing both ankles. And the other day I did this and I was like, this is really a neat thing to try. So if you haven't done it, please explore it. And you can always grab both ankles at the end. So I like to just support on one forearm, always squeezing down through the glutes. That's going to create stability in your back. And then I just kind of lay my forehead down. And I'm just tightening my ankle towards the butt as much as I can, and then squeezing down through the butt and breathing. Always trying to bring the knees kind of back towards each other if it wings out. And as you're ready, switching. You might need to spend more time on one side than the other. That's great. Is this side different? And if you'd like to do both, which you can't do if you're standing, of course, if you're on your belly. Again, imagine there's a block between the thighs that you're wanting to squeeze. And then if you'd like, pressing the ankles back into the hands for bow pose. And I like coming in and out of this with breath. So I'll inhale, extend into the pose, really let the chest be opened. Exhale, return. There's no intention or desire to look forward, as that will only crimp the back of the neck, and we're always looking at creating space, not compression. And release. You might just become a lump and lay on your front body. Maybe you want to press back to child's pose. Either way, enjoy bringing breath not only into the belly, but into the back body. And then in your own time, as you're ready, coming onto your back body. And you can face any direction. You don't need to rearrange. But you're going to go onto your back with the block in hand, lift the hips, and place the block under that sacral triangle. So right at the top of the crack of the butt, not in the low back vertebra area. And some of us will be comfortable with knees bent. Others will enjoy exploring lengthening the legs. If you're doing that, by the way, the hips are just totally relaxed. There's no intention to keep your feet upright. This is just designed to feel really good, restorative, helping your body get that, again, counter or opposite shape. If it feels pinchy or ouchy, then adjust it or come off. Some people have good luck replacing the block with a folded up towel or blanket, something softer. As you breathe deeply into your belly, where do you notice it? If your legs are straight, you might even get a stretch way deep, kind of in between the hip bones in the psoas. We call those the fight or flight muscles, the psoas area, but this gets into this theme of doing and softening the doer. That in times when we are so busy that we tend to almost stay engaged, waiting for the next thing, preparing. And we really want to train ourselves to be able to soften in between each bit of engagement or doing and be able to be really present with both the doing and the relaxation. When you feel ready to come off your object, please do. You might bring knees to belly as a nice counter stretch. And then I'm going to bring us into either reclined pigeon or more classic pigeon where you'd be facing the mat. I'm going to do reclined pigeon tonight, so I'm going to just plant my left foot and cross my right ankle onto the left thigh. And then my favorite way of practicing this now is that I'm going to hug my right knee really tightly to the chest. Sometimes people practice by wrapping around the left thigh here. but I find I don't get as good of a stretch and it creates a lot more neck tension for me. So just something to try out in your own body. And then the big excitement, roll a little to the left, and you should get that stretch coming into kind of the piriformis, maybe IT band. Those of you who practice more of the classic pigeon, where you've got your right knee near your right elbow, for example, and you're facing the mat, even there, you can be rolling a little right and left to kind of find that just right edge. Send breath into it. Is there more? When you are ready to switch, return the floor foot. It's just a safer way to transition. Cross the right ankle to left, left ankle to right thigh. Bring the whole deal towards the chest, hug it tightly. Sometimes I'll also kind of clasp my foot if that feels like it gives me a better purchase. And then you're going to rotate a little to the right. Noticing, observing the quality of the stretch, the location, how breath affects it. And when you are ready, release. And I'm going to bring us into one more version of bridge with our leg extension or foot hovering, depending on what your body prefers. We want to still start with a little bit of that shoulder blade sandwich because that creates space for the cervical spine so that those kind of first vertebrae right below the neck itself aren't getting pressed into the mat. So we want it to feel easeful for the neck. And then you're going to press up. I'm going to keep my hands on my hip bones as kind of a measuring tool to keep me more aware. And if you're doing just a foot hovering, which I like to start with, you're just lifting one foot off the floor an inch or two and then the other. And you want to notice, does the hip drop? Does it do it on both sides or just one? And can you restabilize? And then if you want a little more adventure, then you straighten the legs, flexing through the heel, keeping the thigh the same height as the other. Trying not to use the neck. Breathing. Check your hip height. You might lose a little height and try and get it back if you can. When you feel complete, come on down, and you might come into knees to belly. You might go into happy baby. You might play with some half straddle. Please notice what would feel good in your body. And then encouraging you to replace any layers if you feel a little cool. Sometimes just a soft covering across the chest can help us feel more introverted. I've had a lot of people over the years share that even if it's hot, they have to have like a little bit of sheet or something right over their sternum area. So if we want to have an effective shavasana, that's also a good practice. So as you come to settle into your resting shape, whatever shape it is, side body, back body, maybe you want to go with your legs up the wall, or if you're at home, you can even, put the knees bent and have your calves up on the couch seat, for example. So take time, wiggle around, just like when we started our practice. We explored space to just find out where we were in our body, what was needed, what felt good. And I'm going to invite you to once again turn your gaze up and in towards that third eye point. It's as if with that action you are saying, I am only interested in what is happening inside of my body. This is the only world that matters. And as you observe these next few exhales, use each one as an invitation to sink more deeply down and down and down into your mat. invite you to become lightly aware of my voice, inviting you to add breath blocks. So if you choose to join me in this on your next exhale, you'll simply empty the breath and hold out. As you hold out, you begin to notice little sensations, little tugs and pulls. Ask, can I soften around this? Can I hold a little while longer in a blissful state, not letting it become striving or suffering? When you need to breathe, you inhale and hold in with the same curiosity and intention. Inviting softening through your face muscles, the spreading of the cheekbones, relaxation through the neck, chest space. Notice if the mind wanders, and see if by coming with curiosity, a deep desire to know where tension is building and a deep desire to soften around it, see if you can do one more round with more intense focus. If you're feeling quite deep in relaxation and you want to stay longer, please do. Otherwise, I invite you to slowly come out. You might begin again, rolling wrists and ankles. Maybe you're inspired to take touch and massage somewhere, maybe the base of the skull or your feet. Again, our yoga practice is about creating connection and uniting with our body, mind, and spirit. And when we do that, ideally, we become much more receptive to hearing what the body wants, that it doesn't have as much static to get through it. We just go, oh, yeah, oh, that would feel good. Um, the breath blocks I specifically wanted to add at the end of practice once we were really relaxed and hopefully kind of a little bit out of our thinking brains, because it has been my favorite go-to tool in recent weeks when I've been very busy, and I've noticed myself like just engaging forward, to get somewhere and like my breath clamping down. And just by going into even one round of breath locks, say while driving or what have you, I could just feel my whole attitude shift. And I don't just mean mental, like physical. Everything shifted into more moment, this body, this breath. Another great mantra that helps: plenty of time, plenty of help, plenty of money. That to kind of bring back from that edge of worrying that there isn't enough and that I've got to hurry and I've got to make more happen. So again, try to find ways to soften the doer. And for me, the breath blocks are really, really useful. To be clear, you don't want to do extreme breath work while driving, but light breath blocks are really, really good. I'm so grateful you all got to the mat this evening. Thank you for being here with me. If you'd care to close the practice with ohms and the singing bowl, please do. I like placing my hand on my chest to feel the vibration. Gathering that first long inhale. Ah. Om Shanti Shanti. Om Peace Peace. Namaste. I hope you all feel really, really good. I hope you get to enjoy the coming beautiful summer days in a new way. Integrated bodies, minds, and spirits. See you again soon at the mat. Thank you.